Right, good evening, everybody. You're welcome tonight. Our meeting tonight is going to be very brief, and I just want us to dimension of the market. As we can see, last week we're talking about the market having head up. Of course, our first goal was to hit up to 127,000, and unfortunately for Bitcoin, we couldn't. So as many of you will look at why am I starting with Bitcoin tonight? Yeah, so Bitcoin, they have some liquidation to meet up with at 100. Uh, we have a lot of backlog liquidation to meet up with at $150,000 for Bitcoin. And of course, that's what we see playing out gradually since last week after the market head up and all of that. And either we like it or not, it is what it is. Market will play out the way it's going to play out. And so either you like it or not, the market will play the dimension you need to play. So one thing is that, so where I'm seeing that Bitcoin actually in 24 hours to have a kind of level of liquidation, as it were. So we're having at a point of about 119,000. Oh, sorry, 100 and well, let me just quickly look at it. And so it's good for us if if we're able to hit down there, then before taking the rope up and all of that. So let me just quickly take up something. So many persons, when market move massively, the culture we always tell people is to take profit and wait for another correction so that you can have much volume of the coin you are probably holding. So like I said, looking at Bitcoin to the 114,000, 116,000 or back to that $115,000. Remember we said that Bitcoin have a lot of holes to cover. Yeah, probably back to 111,000 at a point, and yeah, 111,000 and probably 109,000. So if that possible or not, so but you want to look at some correction tonight. Now, listen, one thing for sure you need to understand is that the market, we always play with you or give you proper direction when you can be patient enough. In fact, I was a short position on Bitcoin since morning, and then it was daily dialing though. And then a lot of market were moving on. And of course, exactly like Chainlink and Solana did a lot of massive move up and all of that. So what we want to have this week, so Bitcoin, a little correction because I saw some liquidation down at 114, 115,000. If we can sweep that, then we have now up back to 120,000 to break it. And of course, remember we said the cycle, we're getting towards the top of the cycle, all right? August, September, October, and probably November, if we have an extension to the month of December, okay? All right. And that's one of the things we need to take a look at for the Bitcoin. And that was why look at Bitcoin. What I did was like a short here, and it was like a very serious problem. Okay. Now, so if that's going to happen, to look at Bitcoin back to 117 or 100, so sorry, 115,000 to sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm in a very bad location, and so whatever the network is giving us, we have to just take it that way, okay? And so in case it put me and at the point I may not be able to get back, so you have to just manage the situation like that. Apology for that. Now, so what I was saying is that so looking at Bitcoin and then to take a dimension, like I said, that's going to be a very fantastic one. So I quickly just want to run on Bitcoin and then I'll go to market in general. That is to talk about the index. Okay, like I was saying, as a Bitcoin, if you can return down to that, the movement right now. So that means you're going to be looking at the Bitcoin 116,000, 115,000 region. all right? And then we massively move up because their liquidation at that 116,000 and then up to 119,000 and all of that. So you have to be very careful. One other thing is this: if you are just doing some scalping or day trading, no problem, because you definitely want to see Bitcoin, first of all, have a new candle close tonight and open a new one. But for me, I had this position, you can see that it was a doji, and you can imagine how stressful such trade can be when you are in such trade. Now it's highly, highly, highly very sensitive and all of that. Okay, so now let's look at the DXY. DXY told us that the struggle on DXY was March, and we have a lot of effect on it last week. And that's the same continuing again now, and that gave a lot of momentum. Now, one of the things is that most time people are trading or buying and selling some asset without looking at the, you know, an expanded view of such market, you know. And so now what I'm looking at again, since the market have been a little bit sideways for DXY, and that was why you see the ripple effect on Euro USD. Of course, I told us about the Euro USD when we're having moving crazy move down, and then we'll get supported and all of that. So give and take, if the DXY continue to have this sideways move and another drop this week, then that our first target of Euro USD that we said was going to actually break above this point, and then that's going to give another buy opportunity for this week, right? Sorry, let's go here. So, but give and take. So, but give and take, if the DXY could have its momentum strengthening back, all right, can have a sweep of liquidity over here and to rally back up here, then you should be waiting to sell Euro USD back down, and along with GBP USD, as it were, because the two of them had actually, and so I think GBP USD should be selling, right? But it has another wonderful support over here. So that means you could be targeting GBP USD, very, very small pips anyway, 118, 116 pips, thereabout. But if you can have forceful movement and all of that, then that's going to give you a lot of 300 and something pips to 345 pips, thereabout. But what you want to have this week is to have recovery, is to have the recovery of the DXY, and then so the recovery of DXY from here to this point, and that's going to give us amazing selling opportunity for GBP USD and all of that. Now for gold, of course, gold, I've told us we've been sideways. And what I tell us is that once you're sideways in the market, just know the range, and of course, be picking the market in that dimension. That is to say, locating your opportunity in a lower time frame. And so locating your opportunity in a lower time frame, that means invariably you still want to have continuation of selling for gold this week, right? So to see gold still sell down, probably locating gold with more selling opportunity this week, probably, yeah, so having about three, yeah, this go here. Yeah, so about 300 pips or back down to 520 pips and all of that. Yeah, so because it's still maintaining the sideways move and all of that. Remember what I told us about gold? It's not yet over to bearish of gold until we are back to 2,907 something dollars price of gold. If not, we're still bullish, right? But just maintaining the sideways move. You can remember I told us since April we've been sideways on gold, and that's why you probably will not find your trend. So what you could be doing, And what we have to continuously doing in gold is buying and selling. And so if you look at it, look at gold is to continue doing buy and selling. You cannot, I can tell you, it's very, very cumbersome for you to find a proper trend and all of that. So if gold is going to create maybe a sweep of liquidity this week over here to 3348, or probably even return back onto this point again, then we have another sell. So that means, but if you have DXY, all right, if you have DSY getting trending, like I said, then definitely you want to be looking for, another sell for gold as it were. And like I said, Euro USD, GBP USD to be looking to sell as it were. Now, of course, one of my lovely peers is actually US 30. And I don't encourage everyone to trade it if you don't have um, a fairly large account, if you're trading Forex. And so those are the things actually explained to some of our people who are trading Forex. And then that if you don't have a fairly large account, then you probably want to stay with all these currency pairs. But for scalper, definitely gold is good for you. You can always find a scalping opportunity on gold and all of that. Okay. Now, so like I've said, you can see Solana had been a kind of thing. I was on a sell on Solana, and it was taking a very, very serious move, very crazy move, and all of that. So that is to say, this week, are we actually bearish in crypto? No, we're not bearish. Now, observe some kind of good move at the point, but sluggish move again. Maybe those of us who are trading both in futures and Forex, and you can see the impact of the summer on market activity. So there aren't much volume in the market, and that's why you could be finding some choppy activity. So the best for you to be locating buy and selling. You probably will not be able to have a kind of proper trend and all of that. I think last week we were taking a Bitcoin, and then we could have a first move, and then the second mover was a very massive one and all of that. Okay, like I've said, I'm not going to waste too much time tonight to now. So those of us who are trading or indices, synthetics, and all of that. And I think it's important for you to always apply your risk reward ratio. Now, if you're new tonight, you've been following us on the market update and all of that, what we do is very simple. We look at the liquid environment to make money and build up our capacity in portfolio building. And so one of the first place we talk about portfolio building in our ecosystem, it's about crypto, okay? So we build portfolio in crypto, we build portfolio in stock market. Now, if you look at last week, many of you probably will not understand the market. So there was a little kind of retracement in the club capital market, certainly in the local market. Yeah, so there was some sentiment around the whole thing. And so, but one thing is that when we trade and get some liquid fund, you return back to find tokens to buy and hold, and for a good moment and all of that. Yeah, so I'm just sharing all of this to just now, if you look at it, when my AI told me to buy this token, was about a few days back that, okay, yeah, okay, that was here before. That was July. And at the point again, but okay, today I think, okay, no, on the 14th, 3 days ago, and see confirm more today. Now, one thing is that when I was doing with some coins to buy, they can be sometime you could buy and they move down. So that's why we encourage people for part of this year. But of course, you know that when it has to do with crypto, we have different segments. We have some low gems, or we have meme coins, and then we have some of the primary coins. And among the primary coin, one of the lovely one that I've been talking about for long was Chainlink. Many people would not actually pay attention, as at the time we're talking about Chainlink. And I think only today, Chainlink did about how many percent? Massive move on Chainlink today, only today. Yeah. So why am I bringing all of this? Because I will always tell you to tomorrow, no matter how professional you are in trading, and if you do not have a backup, right? A backup is a place where you buy some coins and hold and all of that. So if you can see only today, look at when my scanner picked chain link to be bought only today. I think it did over how many percent? Over 17% thereabout and all of that. Yeah, so now correction probably may be correct there here. But if Bitcoin is going to go more corrected so much, then you can be looking for the market to actually get to this pivot point. Maybe at about 23 point something dollars for people who probably want to long it again. Now, why am I giving all of this? Because then we'll talk about the stock. I told us that last week market nosedive. Maybe you should be finding some buying opportunity in some of those equity this week, especially those local stock and all of that. So because we have GTCO actually nosedive a little, though was more resisted than others. Now others nosedive. I think Lasaco, I have Lasaco actually nosedive very massively, right? I think okay. Lasaco got up eventually. Okay. So now, so but maybe this week you could be finding some good recommendation of stock that we actually do well because they fell down last week. And of course, I explained some of those factors for us. Wima was about 25 naira per shares, and then it nosedived to about 22 or 21 naira per shares eventually. Okay. Now, why we show all of this is that remember, we said no matter how professional you are in your trading, you do not have a backup where you buy into some asset and hold and all of that, then you are going to be in issue sometime because markets can twist you. And now, if you do not have a backup where you can take out some money, put yourself back, it can create a lot of problem. Okay. Now, so those of you who are learning how to trade, we have always told you that trading is not difficult, but we can complicate it by ourselves, right? Most time we complicate trading by ourselves. And in fact, I was in a trade. Let me just show us, like on synthetic. Those of you who are on our paid group on synthetic, I told you I trade more of synthetic in weekend, right? And if you look at this, okay, so if you look at this signal, was about two signals yesterday and today. Now it took almost about 11 hours or 12 hours before this actually played out. If you, those of you who are on synthetic group, and now another buying opportunity is setting up. I'm not asking you to buy anyway. All right. So that was a market that was supposed to be I give them and say another buy opportunity waiting, and we actually waited for this buy opportunity, and I say are waiting. Imagine that that same market has to travel up as much as possible before coming. Though for some of us who understand what we need to do, we find an entry here and all of that, but the major entry we're waiting for it here. So you can imagine the market travel up here before coming here to give us 1:5. That's 5-to-1 ratio risk reward. And that's how, some of those sniper entry and all of that. Now, this another one is gearing up now if it's going to actually respect this region and then to buy. Now, one thing is this. Now, if I tell you how many hours it took, okay, because this was actually set, it took how many hours? The previous day, that was just today, right? Just today at about 8 p.m. or something. And then to today at about 7 a.m. in the morning before the market actually could peak, right? Now, okay, 9 a.m. in the morning before the market could actually peak. Now, why I'm showing all of that, when you are trading, there's a level of patience that you must actually have. If you do not build patience, I'm sorry, it's going to be a very big problem. The same this one play out after it sell down. It took several hours to, right? I think this is from 1 a.m. in the morning. And then before we finally got an entry and before
Yes.
we'll travel here. Now, listen,
So,
one thing I'm saying is that markets right? Market is what it is. But first thing you need to learn is learn how to build your psychology, okay? You need to learn how to build your psychology. So what we say, we buy, we trade, make money, and you build your portfolio. Build your portfolio in your crypto, build your portfolio in your stock. And of course, even in Forex, most persons wouldn't know that you can equally build a portfolio in your Forex trading because it's about swing and you can hold a position for as long as 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, depending on understanding you have. Okay. So they are very, very important for us to build around and then be able to achieve financial freedom. So not all the time you're going to have all the energy to be looking at the candlestick and all of that. No, it doesn't actually work that way. Now, the more you look at the candlestick sometimes, the more emotional you become, right? So you just have to find a way, a strategy pattern to look away from the candlestick and so that you can allow the market to play out as you actually targeted to be. Okay, then we told us, congratulations, made it to our webinar just today. I think it was a phenomenal and a very nice one. And one of the things we said, there are tools that we recommend for people when you sign up on Capital Extend that you can have access to. One of it was BEKENET software. Now, if you have been experimenting BEKENET software since we gave it out for people to do 1 month experimentation, you discover that BEKENET software is purely for swing trading. Okay. Now, except for the fact that you could locate some entry system, right? You could locate some entry and eventually um, refine it to a bearish minimum. So most time people don't. So refine it to a bearish minimum. Oh, I think I was on a this trend the other time. So you have to, but if you look at it, it's going to give you enough idea or trade idea on the very strong key levels, just like what you have for Bitcoin and other instrument like a training. Now that will give you very fantastic to find, maybe a reversal, just like what Bitcoin did here. That's about how many days? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that's about since on the 14th, yeah. Now that after a sweep of liquidity, and that was continuous selling and all of that. So if we're able to not holding this now, break this line, this today and tomorrow, that's close and open of the new market, then that means, like I told us, we'll be looking at 215,000 and eventually back to this point. So you can imagine for anyone who was swinging Bitcoin at a very considerable amount after a sweep of liquidity and entry to this point, and then probably down to this point, that's about 7%. So then it all depends on what you are doing with Bitcoin, that you are trading it as a CFDs on your Forex platform or as a future contract on your crypto exchange and all of that. Okay, so please, informations are what you are actually leveraging on in this session or in this era. It's a very easy place, but if you are not stable, you have to actually find yourself. So if you are new tonight, you'll be tempted to ask me, Felix, how do I get started? Where should I start from? First is from education. That's the truth. First is from education. But you have to be very careful on the certified education. You need for education for application, right? So the first I recommend for people is that just learn basic price actions to identify support and resistance so that you can find proper entry. All right. So if you look at this market now, it looked more kind of a bit technical when we find an entry. But if I expand it to what cost me to find an entry here, so it's beyond, more of support and resistance and all of that. Because if you look at this, it's a black line here and black line here. These are what we call key levels. And no matter what you do, the key levels are always respected if you know what you are doing per time. But eventually, there are things that play in between. If you have basic understanding, it's going to help you. Now, I don't like to complicate trading because most time people look at trading with over technical conversation. Now, it's beyond that. You don't look at trading to complicating those terminology for yourself. Now, trading, it's combinations of technical and fundamental. And now, just like now, there are rise in the US stock, for instance, awaiting Donald Trump's speech and all of that. All right. Told us to buy. No, I said that some persons I recommended Nvidia to the other time. And now you can see that Nvidia is already now nose diving, which has tried very well. If you buy a stock within how many months? From $87 to $85, $85 to $87, and it move up to as high as $183. Now, I actually expect the stock to do up to $250 before the end of the year. But of course, anything can happen. So it's a tech stock and all of that. I think there's a new stock that's going to be listed on NASDAQ. It's called Bullish. Okay. That stock is called Bullish. It's going to be listed on NASDAQ. Now, Bullish is an exchange. All right. Bullish is an exchange. Look at this. This is a stock that's going to be listed very soon. They are working. So Bullish is an exchange that want to ooh, they finally got it. Okay. So, oh my word. Okay, yeah, that was the one of pre-market. Today is 17. Oh, okay. So Bullish is a crypto exchange. This is a crypto exchange, okay? But it's very, very, difficult for you to get the verification on Bullish is crazy and all of that. I think, okay, which day was I getting this? Bullish. Oh shit. Just go here. So you can see Bullish is an exchange, okay? Okay, so to be listed on the NASDAQ and then New York Stock Exchange and all of that. So, but Bullish is it's a crypto exchange, okay? So you need to understand it's a crypto exchange. You can see a lot of crazy things that's going to be happening in crypto, infusing some of those activities from crypto. And now that's why to somebody I said a time is going to come, we'll be trading Bitcoin the way you are trading gold because that's the liquid gold you're going to find out there. And so you can see why we always tell us when you trade and you make some profit, you need to spread your tentacles into building your portfolio because it's very, very important. Okay, and I think that's so far I can have for us. So first, you need to learn. Knowledge is very important. All right, you need to learn to have basic knowledge. And number two, you need to have access to so basically in Plan B, it's like give you general information and orientation. Then you can have access to Signal. And now basically for you to have access to our signals, it's either you create an account, on the Forest platform for instance, like Capta Extend, or you want to have access to our signals on Synthetics, you probably have to create an account, on the Reef with the link made available either by any member of a community to you or within our community, for instance. Then, or well trade, you registered, you verify your can you fund, and then you get access to basic intro on how to navigate the market. And then you can have access to signals. Okay. Now, I said that you want to learn, it's important to learn to add more understanding, and then you can be trading, making money, right? Over time, when you make money, we'll show you how to actually spread your tentacles in diversification. It's very important. Okay. So now, it's not like I'll keep saying this. It's not difficult, but it's complicated because most time you wouldn't even know where to start from. I can put to you that one of the major problem many of us have today, especially those of us who have start trading or you have been trading, it's this kind of looking for the holy grail. There is nothing like that. You go on YouTube, they say, oh, this is how I build $10 to $1,000. This is how I build $5 to $800,000 and all of that. And then this is the strategy you use. Now, listen, there is no strategy that doesn't work. You just need to understand how it works. Now, the worst thing you can now do is to complicate your trading strategy. The more complicated your strategy, the more overconfidence you set in your strategy, the more difficult it can be. And that's why I keep emphasizing and encouraging everybody, just learn basic support and resistance strategy. Somebody is going to laugh at you that, oh, those things are obsolete. because you don't use smart money concept. Yeah, fine. Some of us can just hybrid money, smart money concept, because if you look at this trade, it was actually a combination of support and resistance and smart money concept. Look at what happened. Why do I have to wait for a trade here, even when the market was dialing here? So I took a trade from here to this point. And then why I took the trade here is that I look at my order flow, right? Order flow is that where's the market coming from? Now, I know that this was a downtrend. Now, on my 1 hour time frame, right? This was an uptrend. Now, this is the downtrend. Now, so here, oh, here. Now, I'm now away from this guy. And now here we are. Now, but if you look at it now, on the 1 hour time frame is actually inducing now, right? Which is like consolidating. So afterward, can sweep all of this liquidity. That's why I was telling us that 116, 115,000, and then move up because there's so much breathe and gap here to return now. But looking at it was that, okay, on a 1 hour time frame, I look at the Bitcoin having a fair value gap here, which call an imbalance. And I expect the market to return back to the imbalance and then fill the balance. That is a book that was open and was not properly closed. Now, but because I have an idea the market is going down, and now, so I just have to wait for here. And then getting over here, of course, there are factors I will need to check, refining it to a lower time frame, and be able to see that properly the market is now changing back. All right. And then once that happened, that was when I was going to find an entry and getting my support here. Because if you inverse this and then break above this, then we're going to have a massive rally probably by this week. If you see Bitcoin perhaps above $119,000, guys, that's going to travel back again to 123, 124. And you want to see flip that 123, 124. The next milestone will be 127,000. So, but these are the things you need to understand when it has to do with market. Is dynamics flexible? You want to know what is it doing now, what is going to do next, and even when you want to know what's going to do next, you must know what it's doing right now, and that's exactly what to do. Okay, and now so those are the things. So combination, but the first we'll talk about the support and resistance. If you look at it, this is a key level. That means this is a support, this is a resistance. If I find an entry here with the proper price actions, I should be buying. And then if I have bought here too, but perhaps you may not sell from here because you do not look at the hybrid of smart money concept. For instance, here you're waiting for it here, but something still happen. It come down here and probably come back again to sweep liquidity or get weakened out, fail rally, and then return back up, break above this point. Then we have a massive move. Okay, so but in between, as it maybe scalper or day traders, you probably will have find some trade as fantastic as possible. Okay, and just like what I showed to us on the reef, that when we find an entry, right? That when we find an entry on this guy, we try as much as possible. Okay, I think there was a signal here too that will say we're waiting for a trade over here. That was a massive one too. That will say we're waiting for a trade both on this guy. Okay, so you can see now this guy, after a massive move up here, we're still waiting for it to actually return and give us a dimension. But if it doesn't, then that means we're going to be waiting for it at this point now. But this is the point. Sometimes you just get fixed in your mind. As a trader, as a business person, if there's anything you must learn, is learning how to be disciplined, yes, dynamic. Because if you're not dynamic, you are just static. Oh, the market. Now, somebody will tell you there is nothing called certainty in the market. All the thing you're doing in the market is the probability. And then the probability you're plotting is you work with a higher probability. And that's one of the things many times you fail the market. You're just so fixed that, oh, this market must do this. There's nothing like that when it has to do with trading. It's flexible. Market is doing this, and this is what I expect to do. If you do this, this is what I want to do. So you have a checklist. And now, while doing that, you still have in mind that market could create second scenario. And so when second scenario is created, then you probably want to, in fact, if I tell us that this trade you see that I took here, I was actually waiting for it down here, okay? And now, but because of flexibility and understand other confluences was what made me to actually now how to, all right? Because if you look at it here, Yeah, where was I waiting for it? I think I was waiting for it somewhere here. I can't really remember. All right. So, but I got to when it come over here, and I have to step down to another time frame, which was 15-minute time frame. And if you still like, you see, I marked something here. What I marked here was that a market will always come to either sweep a liquidity or fail the rally, all right, or fill a gap. Okay. So now this was a liquidity after sweeping it, and then return back to the zone. I caught in and entering. Right, so waiting for it here, never waiting for it here, didn't come back there. And then that was why you saw the trade continue. And then expecting that the market again to get rejected here, you can see it. So just like normal, creating a pullback and then continuation and all of that. So you can see such market continue to drive towards this point. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, that's so far tonight. So if you are not in any of our paid group or whatever subscribe group, I think it's the high time you take advantage and let us ride together. Take a signals both in crypto, in forex, and synthetics, and then building your portfolio is one of the major things. And then don't ignore when we tell you buy some stock. It has a long way to assist you achieving financial freedom. So thank you very much, everyone. Do have a nice rest and bye for now.